I try to stay in the car and charge my phone, but I'm gonna do what I gotta do, man. I got 30% on my phone, so I can't get everything. I'm gonna just get my squat. Gotta listen to my music too. I'm gonna lead by example. Out here cutting through carpet like Art Sample. Look at this for example. Oh, fire. All right, YouTube. Instead of doing my regular voiceover, I'm in the car right now before I go to the gym, and plus I'm charging my phone a little bit more because I didn't charge it last night. So I gotta say what I gotta say and then film my sets next. All right. So what am I doing? Right. I'm only gonna do 220 pounds on the squat, lightweight, because I want to explain some things that I'm trying to do right now. I'm doing math-based fitness, something I invented, something that a lot of people already be doing without knowing what the title of it is. But math over science. A lot of people do science-based fitness, science-based lifting. I won't do any edits of any mistakes that I might say right here. I'm just gonna keep it raw, authentic. So like the video and subscribe. So let's get into what I'm doing. The heaviest that I've done as of late on squat was like 335, 340, right? The heaviest that I've done, that's when I was doing my 100 days of squatting every day, right? So that makes you strong very fast. That wasn't a lot of weight, but at the same time, I lost my squat. So my squat out of my bench press, my squat and my deadlift, my squat is the weakest, right? So 330 pounds, 30, 40 pounds, whatever, I'm not using that number. I'm using 275, which is the heaviest that I've done my last squat workout. And I'm taking 80% off of that, which adds up to 220. So what I'm going to do with that 80% is I'm going to do more reps. And the reason why I'm doing that is, for one, hypertrophy, for two, volume, for three, not burning myself out, not burning out my CNS, my central nervous system. For also to start at a lower starting base and work my way up every time I do a squat session. All right. How much am I going to add to the bar? I'm doing the same thing, similar thing with my bench press, my deadlift, as I am doing with my squat. Right. So with bench press, I'm going to do something similar, but I'm going to add 5 pounds each session. My deadlift, I'm doing something similar, but I'm going to add 15 pounds each session. Why am I doing 15 instead of 5 like the bench? Because my deadlift is my strongest lift. My bench press is pretty strong for my body weight, but at the same time, your upper body is not as strong as your lower body. So I'm doing 5 pounds extra on each bench press. I'm gonna come up with a strategy. I'm gonna show y'all on my bench press day what my strategy is for my bench press. I'm gonna show y'all what my strategy is for my deadlift, but we're talking about the squat. So I'm gonna do 220 today. Next session, I'm gonna do 230. I'm doing 10-pound increments on squat. So 5 on bench, 10 on squat, 15 on deadlift. And I have high potential on all of them, especially the squat since it's my weakest. But I'm also implementing, it's easier to implement new techniques or things that you might lose, like form. Form is like easier to practice with lighter load. So I'm changing up some things on my form. So with my hands, I'm doing a thumbless grip, which means I'm basically using my hands as hooks, which helps your elbow drive. So get your elbows in place where you want them to be. So I'm doing that. I'm widening my stance a little bit, and I'm focusing on my breathing and bracing. I'm focusing on so many things that if you were just going as heavy as you possibly go, it's very easy to miss steps. All right. It's very highly easy to miss steps. All right. So it's easy to know what to do. You heard this and you heard knowing it and doing this, two different things. And doing it and learning things and relearning things or practicing things is a lot harder under heavy loads. So there's a give and a take, right? So there's two different ways to get very strong and build muscle when it comes to lifting weights, all right? In my opinion. And this is what I'm doing. There's a time and a place to go heavy, and there's a time and a place to go light, right? See, a lot of people go all the way heavy, and they end up injured. They end up sticking points. They end up bad form because like I said, it's hard to train those things always going heavy. Then you got people who always go light. Their form might be great, but they're not building a lot of muscle because they're doing a bunch of reps, but it's like it's not enough to stimulate the muscle to grow. You know what I'm saying? Basically, they're working endurance. They almost doing cardio with the weights. So, you know what I'm saying? And they're never really pushing themselves. You know, they might push themselves with how many reps they can do, but, you know, and if that's what you try to do, that's cool. But at the same time, they'll never know how strong they actually are, and they never will build that much strength because they're never pushing that weight. So there's another way, though. Staying right in the middle. So if I'm doing like 10 reps on bench press and, you know, going hard and make sure that 8th, 9th, 10th rep is very hard, that's another way to do it. But staying at that all the time is like, it's a personal preference. I like to go heavy. So let's say I'm deadlifting, right? Instead of doing 5x5s all the time, and I'm on my way to 600 pounds for a max, right? 585, 600 pounds, that's going to be in the books real soon on the deadlift, right? So if I'm doing 5x5s, I might be doing only 4 something, you know what I'm saying? And of course, you're going to do less weight if you're doing more reps, you know what I'm saying? If you're really pushing it. If you're really pushing it, you're not going to do your 1 rep max for 5, 6 reps because that's your 1 rep max. That's the maximum amount you could do with that weight, right? So, and also if you always doing that, you might hit that stick. You might just be stuck there for a minute. And you might get injured. You asking for it, begging for it, really. But what I'm saying is, I might be still on my way there, but lifting heavy motivates me. You see what I'm saying? So lifting heavy, if heavy is what you're trying to do, you got to push it. You know what I'm saying? There's a time and a place. So this is a fallback and a rebuild, right? So it's always a fallback and a rebuild, always. Professionals do it. It's called peaking, all right? So you need that volume, which is that volume, your intensity, your volume, all that, it needs to change. You know what I'm saying? So it needs to come back, then it needs to build back up, then it needs to come back, then it needs to build back up. But when it builds back up, okay, let's say I get to my max, right? Let's say I get done with all this buildup, right? And then I peak and I go to my max and then I come back down. All right, when I come back down, it needs to be at a higher starting point than when it started. You see what I'm saying? So let's say I'm doing 220 today. And I work my way all the way up to 400. Then I come back down. I need to come back down to like 240 or something. I don't know. I'm going to do a percentage again. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to do a percentage again. I'm going to do 80%. And then I'm going to work my way back up. But 80% of whatever that is I work my way up to is going to be higher because the heaviest weight is a higher number. So 80% of that, for instance, okay, I'm just doing easy math, right? 80% of 100 is 80, right? 80% of 200 is 160. You see what I'm saying? That's what it is all math, all right? It's all math. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. If you start looking at numbers, I just filled up my gas tank. Money, the same way you count your money, the same way you budget your bills. If you're good with money, you can be good with fitness. Not just lifting weights, it's also counting your calories, tracking your macros, all of that is numbers. All of this is math, is ratios. Even I look at it as being in the gym, talking in the gym. You got people that go in there and go crazy. They the definition of a warrior when it comes to this weightlifting stuff. Then you got people that go in there and do nothing but socialize. They're the definition of a chatty patty. So you got to have a ratio there too. I'm not saying you got to be all warrior, but if you're all chatty patty, you get no results. If you're all warrior, you're not going to have any friends in the gym. And if that's important to you, which it is kind of important though, because I be saying all the time, I go in there by myself and I do this and do that. Shoot, I had 2 dudes help me out the other day. I failed on the bench press. One dude, he filmed my heaviest bench press that I succeeded at, thanks to bro. And another dude saved me. He spotted me. Well, he didn't spot. Well, how do you call it? He picked the weight off me when I was failing. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing. That's still, everything's math. All right. When I go heavy.